This is Wholesaling Houses Elite, the no fluff and BS podcast with tips and tricks to help you become an elite wholesaler. Our guest will spill the beans on what it takes to be the best.
Hey, what's up, Wholesaling Elite members? It's Maxwell, and welcome to another podcast. And as I always say, I have a special guest, but I'm going to tell you what I'll be doing for the next few weeks is I'm going to be introducing you to people that are going to be at my conference. And that conference is Wholesaling Elite Live 2018. If you haven't got your tickets, you're crazy. This is the first of the few speakers that I'm going to be introducing. And this speaker name is Josh Gaiman. How you doing, Josh?
I'm awesome, Max. Always good to hear from you and be with you, brother. How are you?
So I'm well, man. And for you guys that don't know Josh is secretly one of the reasons why it piqued my interest to get into wholesaling almost 2 years ago. And I noticed him by seeing some Sean Terry stuff, and I met him at a Sean Terry event, and I knew about him prior to that, and now I was like, okay, he's the real deal. I see him in person. He's actually real active, and he's doing things because, you know, people lie on the internet, right? So now I got to see him personally, and now I know. Last month, I was in Arizona speaking at Josh's event. And man, I'm so happy that I can get him on this podcast, and he agreed to be a part of the Wholesaling Elite Live event that's going to be in Charlotte, North Carolina, coming October. But Josh, let's start off by telling us, like, what market are you in right now?
Phoenix, Arizona, baby.
So
and we operate in
Phoenix, Arizona, and where else?
Yeah, we operate in Portland, Oregon as well a little bit and do a few flips here up there. But our primary market is right here in Phoenix.
Got it. So you're wholesaling in Phoenix and then you're flipping in Portland.
Yep, just a little bit of the flipping. Yeah, we do a very heavy wholesale.
Now, what's your connection in Portland? Why are you because you live in Arizona? What's your connection to Portland?
Portland's my home market, and so it's just kind of fun. I know the market, like I know the neighborhoods. I like to have a reason to go up there every couple months. Like for me, that's just fun. Those are just fun deals.
So that's your home market. That's your hometown. Arizona is your second home.
Yep. So we'll just fish for whales up there, and we come across a really big one, and that's why we flip them up there because we don't have all the resources and stuff. Like in Phoenix, I mean, if it's a deal, we're moving it. We'll get into that. But up in Portland, it's not as big of a market. It's not as investor friendly and savvy, stuff like that. So a lot of times we'll actually just commit to the deal, close on it. Wholesale it, but our margins on the deals, our conversions lower up there, but then our profit margins double on a Portland.
Yeah, it's like playing in the San Francisco markets and other stuff like that, but not as crazy. So, kind of tell me, what your real estate background is and how you got into wholesaling.
Oh, man. So, I love real estate. I've always loved real estate, at least most of my adult years. So my background's actually the car business, and that's where I always joke around and say I got my PhD in sales from the car business. Some really big dealerships down here in Phoenix. But about 10 years ago, so I was in my early 20s at the time, and I was like, you know what? Like, these hours suck. And, I was moving up the ranks of management in the car business, but it was a grind and a ton of hours. So I was like, you know what? I can see that the numbers in real estate are that much bigger, and I can design my own hours. So I always had that entrepreneurial thing. And that's what got me started back then, which was a completely different market, than we're in now. 10 years ago here in Phoenix, we were epicenter of foreclosures. You drive down the street and there would just be for sale signs everywhere. Everything was bank owned or was being short sold. But what's really cool is that I got a ton of experience right away. There was a lot of deals out there if you were willing to hustle and grind. Now, mind you, the average sales price in Phoenix then was about a quarter of what it is right now. I mean, That's how it was. I started at the lowest of low rock bottoms. So I would get these houses and get them short sales, and we'd end up, the sales price would be $30,000. And so the commissions on that were very small. So then I had to figure out, but what I learned was I was like, okay. And then, and honestly, that was probably not our average. That was probably more the low side. We'd get a lot of deals. Our average, though, maybe 75. So same thing, even if you're getting commission. So I had to find a way to maximize these deals. And the first thing was, how am I going to get consistent lead flow? without consistent leads, doesn't matter what you're doing, like you're screwed. Like, you might get a deal here or there, but you're not really going to have a business and be able to something that's going to be able to change your life. And so kind of figured out like, okay, here's where I can get deals. And it was a grind, like a lot of door knocking, ton of cold calling, but we would really call the foreclosure list, and we would help people to where they would short sell their house. And then a lot of times when we could, and when they wanted to, they would lease it back or lease option it back. And stuff like this. So we had, we could go to them and basically, we already knew it was a distressed situation. So we would target that list. And then we got good at figuring out how do we maximize these deals. And what we learned quickly was that a lot of investors would take the really cheap deals and they loved them. And they would even say, hey, you know what, Josh, if you can bring the deal to me, I'll give you, $5,000. If you can get it at this price, I'll give you, a few grand on the side. And so I realized quickly, like, wait a minute, then I can actually go to them, if I'm creating the deal, like, wait a minute, like I can, because a lot of times what they would do, they take that deal and they'd like a week later, they'd sell it and they'd use the term wholesale. And I was like, what does this mean? Like wholesale? I'm like, oh, that just means they can quickly like sell it to somebody else. So they just they're not going to flip it or rent it or anything like this. Cause mind you, a lot of the buyers back then were keeping these properties to rent them out. So I actually met a couple investors that I still know today, great mentors of mine in the passive investing game, because I also have a lot of rental properties. But I was selling to the same guys over and over a lot of times. But I'd have a small handful. So I realized I could go to them and be like, hey, Chris, Denny, Dawn, whoever, like that's pretty much it. There's maybe a couple other ones. But I'd be like, hey, I've got this one at whatever, and I'd start wholesaling them. And then I realized, I could get bigger and bigger deals. Then I realized there was some deals that and we didn't call it wholesaling back then, but we were like, hey, if we just close on this, we could basically just resell this house way more because inventory was real low.
Yeah.
Now I'm really good at it. We're talking a couple of years later, 2010, 2011. Inventory is low in Phoenix. Prices are going up. And we'd start flipping them. And then what I realized was I had a project actually where the contractor went to jail in the middle of the project, and it took 4 months. It was crazy, man.
I've heard of that before. So let's back up a second. You get your PhD in sales, so you're comfortable speaking with people because you used to be a car salesman.
Yeah. But
the hours are crazy. So nobody's ever been in the car sales business knows that you're working 15 hours a day all the time.
Bell to bell, they say. Yeah.
Yeah, bell to bell. So you decided to get into the real estate business, but you came in the angle from a realtor perspective.
So I did. So my passion was the investing side. But what happened was I found myself in a situation because of the market. Like I said, we're kind of ground zero for foreclosures and stuff. The guy that I knew was one of my brother's best friends growing up. Great, one of my best friends now to this day. And you've met him, Ben.
Yeah, Ben.
Yeah, great guy. So he was he had been in real estate for 5 or 7 years, done some short sales, stuff like that. He didn't have necessarily the sales, all that kind of stuff. So we teamed up, and he knew how to get these. There were so many of them out there. He knew how to get them, and he knew the process. So he showed me that process and all that. And so the real estate license thing came into it because at that time you couldn't negotiate and do all and get at least not get the commission, let alone. But a lot of times couldn't even negotiate the deal unless you had a real estate license. And that's how I got my real estate license back then. But the passion's always been investing. I've probably done less than 25 transactions in almost 10 years now of being a licensed realtor that were actually I listed a house or I helped a buyer buy a house. And that's pretty much just buddies and stuff like that. So to me, it's always been a tool on the investing side. And even, there was the first, unless you take into consideration the short sales where I just got commissions on.
Yeah.
But even we're kind of those were all investment deals. We're working to get them at the best price. And, so it's kind of in a sense, even if we were just getting the commission, we were acting real similar to what a wholesaler does. I didn't really know it. We were just trying to get the best deal on a property to where we could easily sell it really quick.
Now, in that market that you're in now, you said the prices started to go up because inventory started to shrink. And one thing that was very surprising to me, Phoenix is one of the fastest growing cities in America. Yeah. Well, Arizona altogether is one of the fastest growing states in America, if I'm not mistaken. I think it was 4th or 5th, which was surprising. There's so many new people coming there. I get a question a lot in my Facebook group, Wholesaling Houses Elite. Do you think it's advantageous for a wholesaler to get a real estate license?
No.
Okay. And why? And why not?
Okay, so here's the thing. There's times where it can be a tool, and it's all going to come down to scale. But if you're going to do a lot of business, then my answer would be no. If you're going to do a few deals here and there, it can be a tool because people are like, sometimes it's credibility. But at the end of the day, in my markets, what I've learned is people want an offer. And so at the end of the day, realtors, a lot of times they're doing business with you because they don't want to deal with realtors and fees and all that kind of stuff. So if you're approaching it like, I have my real estate license, but I'm buying it from you, there's no fees, etc., it's not really going to like hurt you. But we all know if you're doing a lot of deals, anytime there's heat, that's a whole nother issue, and a whole can of worms. And I've had both the state of Arizona and the state of Oregon investigate my deals like multiple times. In fact, I'm actually in the process right now. So I first got my license in February of 2009. So I'm over 9 years right now. And I'm actually looking at getting rid of it because we just do so many deals right now. It just creates this liability. So what we're looking to do is my wife's actually going through getting her real estate license. She's not on the company. And then I won't have my license anymore just because of the liability. It's just not really worth it. So
yeah, because you get under, and I was the same reason. I gave up my license because I didn't need it. I only seen it as a negative and not a positive. And that's just like, you know, you got this governing body that can watch everything you do. Not saying you're doing anything wrong, but if somebody reports you, they have somebody to report you to, and it's just too much. And people use it. If they know your license, they use it to their advantage and just create problems. And it's not even that you're doing anything wrong. It's just that when you have to go face that board 3-4 times a year, it's not worth it.
It's not worth it. Nope.
So
yeah, you look at the liability versus the risk versus reward, and it's just kind of a no-brainer.
It's not there. So tell me, tell me kind of what your business is at now, right? So you're looking at you've started back then, you've grown, you have a wholesaling business. You're full time right now, is that right?
Yep.
You're full time. What is your company called?
Easy Button Home Sales.
Okay.
So you go on it. Like, does anybody want to check out what my website looks like? It's easybuttonhomesales.com. Okay. Mm-hmm. And that's an On Carrot website. You know, Trevor does a fantastic job over there at On Carrot for any investors. So plug websites.
I love that. And Trevor's a good guy too. You know, I use On Carrot, and it's like in the link of every one of my videos. It's a great service. But
yeah. Then on the buyer side, I have easybuttonhs.com. So very similar domain. That's where, and that I don't host any inventory. We pretty much sell all of our properties immediately. I mean, I'll send out a property today. Most likely it's going to be sold within 24 hours, unless like I already like kind of know I'm like, this is an iffy deal, or we have time. I'm going to kind of go on the high side, like a note, you know what I mean? But if I need,
it's cool. I always see where you're on Instagram and you got that little thing that presses the button and you're sending out a deal, and it's like, there goes another one.
Isn't it ironic? Because our company, we went with Easy Button Home Sales. So many people I've discovered just want the easy button.
Yeah.
And then a MailChimp thing, when we send it out to our buyers list, he hits the button. It's like, it's kind of funny.
Yeah, that's very crazy. So what does your company look like now? How many employees do you have? What's your volume like? Give me the rundown, kind of.
Yeah. So we're pretty small, but we're not like super small. So in terms of volume and profit and all that kind of stuff, we're pretty big, comparatively speaking. But as far as like a big team, like my biggest thing is hacking, like kind of like the real estate thing. And what I mean by that is I want to spend as much of my time doing the stuff that I'm passionate about and that makes money and that's fun. But I don't want to spend, like, for example, it's the same reason that I didn't do retail real estate in real estate. Like, that's super time consuming for very low profit margin. So wholesaling is the reason I call it flip hacking, is you're flipping to the flipper. You're creating a big profit margin without doing a lot. And to me, that's hacking it. So that's what I love about this business. You don't need a ginormous team. We created a system that does what it would take a whole call floor of people to do if we weren't utilizing technology and apps to our advantage through the system. But in-house, I've got 2 acquisitions managers right now that are full-time, and they come in, they contact every single lead that comes in, they qualify leads, they make offers, they go on appointments, they get deals. they'll help converse with the sellers as we go through the escrow process.
So that's like your inside sales reps, or they actually go out in the field as well too, as needed.
Yeah, they go out. So I have them go the whole thing start to close. Now, here's the thing, Max. I do go on appointments myself as well.
Me too.
Yeah, I mean, that's where the money's made.
I like doing it. And I think because you got a psychology, and I love the psychology of sale. You're a car salesman. You love the psychology of sale. I still attend appointments and go out there and acquire houses because it's just fun.
Yeah, I see so many people try to get away from that way too early on. Like and a lot of people maybe be like 6 months into wholesaling, making good money, having success, and that's a course we see a lot. That people get into this business, go down, and it's so incredible. It's fantastic. What other business can you do that in? But so many times I see them about that 6 month to a year mark be like, I'm gonna get rid of sales because that's the thing I don't like the most, or they'll say I'm not good at it, even though really they are great at it because that's what's made them succeed. And they start handing their bought and paid for and worked for leads to whoever, and nobody's going to close them like they would. And if they are closing them, probably not get the same gross profit. So, I mean, I feel like that's one of the last things that should be given up.
I agree. It's one of the things. It's the generator for the business. You find deals sell themselves, right?
Totally.
But if you don't have good deals, then you don't have a business. So you got 2 acquisition / sales guys, yourself on the team. Is that pretty much what your outfit looks like?
On the wholesaling side, yep. I've got so Christian's my marketing guy, and he does do a lot for our buyers list stuff, for all the behind the scenes stuff, technical stuff on that. But yeah, as far as like the day-to-day wholesaling stuff, like that's the sales team. And then the paperwork, I actually do it myself. So I've been in this business for a long time, and I've ran the team at various levels. Like at one point we had 4 acquisitions guys, and then there was myself and my partner at the time, Mark, who we would manage the salespeople and the deals together. And then we had a full-time office person who would do all the transaction coordinating, and she helped with marketing and stuff. So what was cool is that I had that person for like 5 years. She used to help me with the short sales back in the day too, Heather, and she would do all the paperwork. But the reality of it is, in wholesaling, I've now not had that right-hand paperwork person since May of last year. So 14 months or whatever it's been. And I've been just fine. I mean, there's not that much paperwork. At the end of the day, like I know you've got an attorney in-house, Max. Like for me in Arizona, she's not in-house. She's down at the title company. But I mean, she's basically like a part of the team, almost in-house. I mean, she's running all of our deals. She's got my back. She's going to give me the heads up, shoot me a text if it comes down to it. So another thing that's just incredible about this business is the lack of, compared to like retail real estate and everything else where there's, all these different hoops you got to learn and processes and stuff. Like this is so simple what we're doing. And it really just becomes, how many leads can I get to?
Correct. So tell me your top, lead sources that you want to share. Like what's your top 4 lead sources? Like I know that I use Bandit Signs, PPC. I cold call. We do a lot of Facebook marketing. I mean, those are my top favorite stuff. And then obviously we have just a full division in-house that their thing is to look at problem titles. And that's all they do. So it's a lead source that we love. What are some of your favorite lead sources?
Yeah. So my favorite lead source hands down is cold calling. Mm-hmm. We do a lot of direct mail, mm-hmm. and then I've gotten a lot of deals over the years from, and this is something like anybody out there in any market should go out there and be doing. This is just a cool little nugget. It's like private Facebook groups and stuff like mm-hmm. in the community. You'll pull deals out of there. If you just go in there and post like, I'm a cash buyer looking for a house in the area or whatever, or posts that are like, hey, if you know anybody selling, like, I'll give you $500 or a TV. Like if you bring us a deal, we're looking for properties. And we actually pull deals out of that, which is pretty cool. But as far as really top scalable lead sources, I mean, direct, you can scale that. Google pay-per-click, you can scale that. I've done a ton of both of those, spent a ton of money. They're super expensive. And in a market as competitive as Phoenix, I see a lot of investors go broke and really struggle with those lead channels. So pretty much everybody's going towards cold calling, I think. And I think we're seeing this on a national level, but I know in Phoenix, we're definitely seeing it big time. So this is something I've been doing for years now. And actually, basically it's kind of evolved as technologies came out, as well as, experience figuring out which list is best. which platforms and technologies work best, as far as, what list do I want to get? Where am I going to get a phone number for it? How am I going to contact them? How often? And a lot of people go the call center route, but a human can only make so many calls, and then you can only deal with so many employees. And salespeople are some of the hardest people. If you're going to have like 6 or 8 or 10 people calling, that's a very tough thing. So using automation's been huge for us to solve, the key thing to this whole puzzle of wholesaling, of getting leads that are affordable. Cold calling on steroids has done that for us. And I don't know if we want to get into exactly, kind of what that platform is and how it works. But basically, actually, do you mind if I'm doing a webinar. We open it up every couple months. I don't know. Get into that yet?
I think it's cool for people to attend it, because it was something that I looked at a long time ago, and I use something similar to that in my business. I actually used your product, and it's helped me tremendously. But we'll talk more about that. We'll give everybody a link too, but we'll talk more about that. When are you doing it? Is it this week, this Thursday, right?
Yeah, this Thursday at 5 o'clock, 8 o'clock on the East Coast, so it'll be live. But yeah, I know we can totally go into that.
Okay.
So I didn't want to mess up the flow.
That's cool, because I definitely want to talk about it. Let's talk about, tell me your latest favorite deal, and what I want you to do is tell me what the lead source is, what was the problem, how much did you pay for it, and what did you assign it for, or if you bought it and kept it.
So, I've got a really fun, that's why I started trying to think here, because I've got a really fun one going on right now, but it's not sold yet.
Yeah, you can't really talk about it. I hate that.
Yeah, it's like, do I want to talk about the last one that I kept? That was fun. Or like the last one that I wholesaled in Upland, Oregon. That was a big one.
Talk about your latest wholesale deal that you liked, and you really enjoyed it.
So the one that I'm really enjoying, one that we have going on right now. I'm actually going to pick up a car from the seller tomorrow. It's a 1988, originally owned. She's owned it she's an old lady. She's one owner, always garage kept. Anyways, I'm picking that thing up. 5-speed GT Mustang convertible. So I'm pretty excited about that, with 49,000 original miles, all the records and everything. But their house is a North Scottsdale gem, and it's worth close to $1 million.
Wow.
On the low side, it's worth $850. Like, just put it on the market.
Is that the one where you just did the drone video shot of?
So yeah, with the video. So we actually just did 2 North Scottsdale houses, which is kind of ironic. But I mean, we do a lot of deals, like I was saying, and it's always funny. Everything goes in patterns. So I'll get like 2 in certain areas all the time. But yeah, it's the one with the cool video. Yeah, the drone shot, and it's got the mountains in the background. It's a really nice, highly desired neighborhood. And like I said, it's $1 million house. And so the bottom side, quickly, $850. We've got that one under contract at $625. So I'm super excited about that one. It's a huge spread. We could wholesale it here in Phoenix. I mean, it is super nice. In fact, they just bought 2 brand new AC units and air handlers. Like, that house has been fully maintained, needs nothing. They updated the mass. They've lived there, mind you, since it's also a one-owner house, since it was built in 1999. And this is a 3,500 square foot custom home. It's got the loop driveway and then also the side driveway that goes to the 3-car garage. Like, it's amazing.
So where did you get it from? What source of marketing?
Cold calling on steroids.
Okay. What problem did you solve for the seller?
So actually, this is a unique one, and I love this one, Max. I'll probably be telling this story for a long time, because the seller, his name is Lou. And when he originally called in, like, we knew he was a lead, but we could not understand this guy for the life of us. We had he was so hard to understand. When I say hardest, I mean but I could make out certain words, and he'd get runs of sentences. So our conversation, because of that, and I've learned in sales to be pretty direct anyways, and, get to the point. Obviously, rapport building and all that stuff is part of sales, but you want to, stay on your track. But so we set up an appointment. We could tell he was a real lead. We went out there. So this guy was hard. What happens is the guy has Parkinson's disease. He's had it since 1988. So this guy's learned to live with his wife, who he's been married to for almost 50 years, is super cool. She's the one with the Mustang. Obviously, he doesn't drive. But like, they're super cool. So the problem they had was a couple problems. He's the hustler. Like, I'd call them. I followed up for this deal for 6 weeks. And we'd gone on an appointment, been there for a long time, came back, and then it took all this follow-up before they finally did. I kind of stayed at my number because I'm like, look, a property in this price range, if I'm going to wholesale this thing, I want to be at a good number. Like, I'm not just going to keep going up. And I knew it was all about he had to convince the wife and he had to convince the wife. So here's what it is. They're older. They're moving up to Michigan. He's the one that's got to deal with everything and deals with their, he's the wheeler and dealer of their relationship. And he can't sit there and call like a ton of people. So he talked to a couple brokers that came out to the house, told them what they thought they should sell it for, which they were accurate, high 800s for, would get the thing sold. And, but I kept telling them the whole time as they're following up with me, I'm like, well, you guys are still calling me for a reason. And are these brokers willing to give you a cash offer? And they'd be like, no, they're not. So took a second appointment. I went out there and I knew, and that was when I realized like this whole thing's all about the wife. That's what he's wanted to sign since day one. That's really what has been this obstacle. I finally figured that out. I'm like, okay, the wife, and I knew she was really close now. About, I don't know, a week or two later, I went back to the third appointment, got the contract, and we got the deal. But I mean, that's a really sweet deal. We turned down an offer at 662, I think it was, real quick right off the bat, and we're just getting ready to go market that one again. We got the special updated marketing with the drone video and everything else. We're going to send that one out, but I mean, that one should be a $65,000 deal.
So what did you get it under contract for?
We got it under contract for 625.
And you turned down 662 already.
Turned down 662 already. That was a quick. We didn't have great pictures right away. We sent that out because here's the thing: like, this is a beautiful house. We took the pictures on the spot when we get the contract, and pictures are key to wholesaling a property, in my opinion. Like, having good pictures, you got to make the buyer's job really easy when you send out your product to get it sold. And part of doing that's having great pictures. And when the seller's there and you just got the contract and they're like following you around and stuff, it can be kind of tough. So sometimes, like, I'll go back, and this is what we did. We went back, got all the drone video. We're going back tomorrow. We're going to reshoot the inside and get a little better angles because they're way more comfortable typically if you come back after the fact. But I mean, just something to be aware of for anybody out there. Sometimes you get the contract, and sometimes it's easier to come back the next day and get better pictures or whatever.
So pictures are key. So you're saying when you get a deal, make sure that you spend the extra few dollars and make sure you get good pictures because we're all visual creatures. And then when you send this deal out, that you're going to get a better response because the pictures are better. Now, you're actually taking the time and doing drone videos on some of your higher end properties, or lately I've been seeing you doing on a lot of them. And that's just an added touch because how did you build your buyers list to where you are now?
And I teach this inside my community. This is another little nugget for everybody out there watching right now. Get the realtor list in your area. I think, Max, you teach the same thing. Obviously, this is a great tool, but get the realtor list in your area. And with that list, you will, if you send out good deals to that. So here's the thing a lot of people don't understand. They think of everybody that's a realtor as a realtor. If you guys remember, I said I've had my real estate license for almost 10 years.
Yeah.
And I don't really do any retail real estate. So there's a lot of people out there who flip houses, or maybe they wholesale, or maybe they do a deal here or there, or they'll just buy one if it's in their area, or they own rental properties. Like, that whole list, those are all real estate people. So within that list, you're going to have tons of cash buyers, and you're going to have tons of people that know cash buyers. And at this point now, I've been sending out deals to this same database for years, and a lot of good deals. So when I send out a property, I mean, the really good deals, I wish I had 10 of, because I'd sell multiple times. And but this list has grown and grown. So I send out a good deal. Somebody looks at that, they're sending it out to their partner, their funding partner, like whatever. And this list that already starts really big just by going out there and you can buy it, the realtor list for your state or for your area. And now as you send good deals and stay consistent with your marketing and with your, and I have all my emails always look the same. I have a proven template that's all geared to sell the property, but to also make the buyer's job so easy. Like, if the subject line doesn't get them to open up the email, you're not going to sell them. So the subject needs to have something about like home run, $50,000 spread, something like that grabs their attention and shows the equity. And then also the location is key because, again, a lot of people will buy a property from us based on, pretty much always, right, based on location. There's some buyers that'll buy just about anywhere. Yeah. But a lot of the buyers we're getting where we're maxing out a deal or selling a deal that was kind of tight is somebody that they know that area really well. And so
when you say, can you hear me? Yeah. When you say, we had a little glitch there. Skype, get your stuff together. But no, you said get your realtor list. Now, remember my audience, many of them are just starting or first year in business and they haven't got to that point yet. What do you mean by get your realtor list?
So go out there and you can buy online. You can Google, realtor list, North Carolina, Charlotte, North Carolina, or realtor list Miami, Florida, or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you can buy a current list of all the because one thing that's cool is if you're a realtor, like it's really easy to find your information. It's everywhere. Mm-hmm. So these list companies, that's a profession that they can get really accurate data really easy for and always update it. So you can just go online. And I used to teach people like, hey, contact somebody at a title company and blah, blah, blah. And you can do that, but it's a lot of work. And a lot of times the title company is going to look at you like you're like crazy. So I figured out, I mean, it's easier in most cases to just go online, Google realtor list in your market. And usually for a couple $100 or less, you can buy a database of all the emails of realtors in your area. And there are some technical things to be aware of. So if you send out like 10,000 emails at once to people that have never heard of you and everybody hits unsubscribe, MailChimp will shut you down. Mm-hmm. So there's technical stuff. I have Christian on the back end help me out with that kind of stuff. But ultimately, you know, even if you send out 50 at a time, you know, but here's the thing, like you shouldn't get a huge unsubscribe rate because you're already sending real estate to real estate people. Yeah. It's local. Yeah. So it's not totally spam, but if enough people hit unsubscribe, I've seen investors. So if you have a crappy email, a lot more people are going to hit unsubscribe. Mm-hmm. You send out a great deal, a really good deal, and it's obvious that it's a great deal on a couple clicks and looking at the email, you know, you'll be good. And as you send out more and more, MailChimp's going to give you credibility and you're pretty much fine. But that list for buyers has been gold.
Cool. So that's another way, guys, is to get your list of all the realtors in the market and send them deals. And do you tell them to build in their own commission to the price? Is that what your practice is?
Absolutely. So in the template, it's going to have like the address, pictures, the spread, which means like the wholesale price, the as is value or the retail value, the bullet points, like 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, nice house, like whatever, has a pool or 2-car garage, whatever the bullet points are. You know, contact Josh to buy now. And then under that, it'll be like, you know, agents, add your fees to it, prices net to seller. So buyers understand they're going to pay all the closing costs. And if they're going to assign the deal to somebody else or add a commission, that, you know, they're going to mark up the price.
Okay. Well, that's cool. So tell me your best month you've ever had in business so far.
Man, we hit, and again, I can go to monetary or I can go to like life hacking in a sense, right? So I've had months where we did over $200,000 like multiple times, actually hit $300,000 one month. Mm-hmm. But I would say my best month ever, Max, was it was March of this year. And I did 160, and I had done hardly any marketing the first quarter of this year. What actually happened is I'd had a couple salespeople at the end of last year. One of my main acquisitions guy, I had to let him go, and there was a substance thing, there was a whole personal thing. I had a background with him. It took a lot of energy out of me, mm-hmm. and I had some deals going on. My pipeline was good. I had a couple wholesale deals going on. I get a lot of JV deals as well. It's another good lead source. You know, guys, as you build this buyers list, you'll have people will send you deals that you'll be able to like, hey, I can get that thing sold. So like, I mean, today I'm sending one out. Somebody brought me the deal. They're like, Josh, can you get this sold? I'm like, I think so. So anyways, I went through a quarter after that happened, and I was just like, man, like I was like kind of burnt out. And so here's even with the system like cold calling on steroids, where I can hit a button and get leads, and we do that every day. If I don't have somebody, or I'm not going to do it myself, go through all the voicemails, listen to everybody, contact all these leads, qualify them, and get the deals, mm-hmm. then what's the point, right? Like you still got to get the deals. And so I literally, like, even though I can put leads on demand, stopped for 3 months. And I had this time where in March I closed 5 deals. I wasn't working a ton of leads. I was getting ready for April again, and we turned it back on. We've been cranking. We had an awesome second quarter, and our first quarter was good, and we had deals that just coming in. But I spent a lot of time with my family in March. You know, I always talk like that's my favorite thing to do. That's my whole why. So like we have a beach house down in Mexico. We go down, we stay there. It's awesome. Terrace overlooking the Sea of Cortez. Mm-hmm. I go down kids and ride the wave runners and play golf and do the sand dunes and all that kind of stuff. And so I spent like 3 weekends that month, and part of that was spring break with the kids. And I went to San Diego in March. I think it was San Diego in March. I don't remember. I went somewhere, had a lot of fun. And we did $160,000 off 5 wholesale deals. 2 of them actually were wholesale deals. One of them was a $70,000 wholesale deal up in Portland. So that was probably like my best month ever. When I look back at that month, I was like, I mean, I was just goofing off.
That was your month. You made $160,000 pretty much passively.
Yeah, a lot of guys, you'll see people like, oh, I make $100,000 a month, but they're spending 50, 60, 70 grand in marketing, and then they've got this huge payroll. So I mean, if you bring in even 50 grand a month in this business and you don't have giant payrolls and giant marketing expenses, which is what this system can allow you to do. A way better way to do it, run a high market.
You bring up a key point, and that's one of the reasons why I go after people like yourself to speak at the event that we're having in October. Is you point out something important. A lot of guys tell you, oh yeah, we made $100,000 this month, right? So if my company makes $100,000 this month, you better believe our overhead and cost of everything is probably around 30 to less than 35,000. So we're keeping around 70 to 65% of our stuff all the time. And that's the big difference between just spending money to make it and then using hacking, like you talk about, to reduce it. And that hacking term comes from, even when I was in the technology business, it's growth hacking and all this stuff. It's learning how to do things and getting better results for a cheaper price and just all that stuff like that. So consistently, how many deals do you do a month that you can count on every month?
5 to 10. On a slow month, we'll do 5. On a good month, we'll do 10. I think we did 6 in June, and it was a slow month for sure.
Yeah.
It was a slow month. On a really busy month, we'll do 12 or 14, deals. But we're pretty much hitting at least minimum 50 grand a month. Most brands, we will hit that 100 grand mark. The goal is pretty much 200, but I won't kill myself to hit that.
Yeah.
If we're 50 to 100 plus and growing and getting better. So again, like for me and my business guys, so April, I hired I brought back on a leads manager because I remember I turned back on my marketing back on in April. I sent out $13,000 in direct mail and then turned the phones back on full bore. And most of our deals have came from phones since April, since we've been marketing big time again. And then here just about a month ago, run on a second acquisitions guy so we could bring even more leads in. Because that's what's so cool. I mean, look at this. I was able to basically take a few months off, still close deals, and then just go, okay, I'm ready to go back to work. Oh, here, let me turn on my marketing. And, oh, yeah, I need a couple of people to answer all these leads. Yeah. Now I'm still super involved in these leads, looking at them, making sure we're not missing a good lead, that, discarding it, when and we just need to ask a couple more questions or whatever. And I'm actively involved in going and getting the contract with the sellers or talking to them when it gets to that point. But obviously, when you have that many leads coming in, you got to have all those leads qualified. And so it's very time consuming to go through those leads. But what's cool about the system, again, is that it brings in the leads. Then you can have, if you go through those leads and qualify them and have a system to do that quickly, you can, again, like kind of what you were just talking about with the hacking, like get the most out of your time. So my highest profit per time in wholesaling is spent talking to good leads. But I need help and support talking to all the leads to get to the good leads.
Correct.
And I myself can only talk to so many leads. So if I'm talking to all of them, I can't do as many deals as if I can replicate a couple of me to listen to all of them and then listen to get in on the best ones of those. And I'm training my guys slowly to avoid something I've done in the past. Like I said, I used to have 4 guys at once, and I had trained them all quick, and that was a lot of work and a lot of management. So what I'm doing with these 2 guys, I've got 2 solid guys, acquisitions guys, is training them a little bit slower through, here's the contact process. Here's how we get a hold of every single lead that's called into our company. No lead left behind. Now from the contact process, here's how we qualify every single lead so that we know within 5 minutes, like, is it a potential deal or not? And if it's not, let's get rid of it and spend all of our energy going forward. If it's maybe a deal in 6 months, great. Let's put it into that campaign for automated follow-up, and let's move forward. If it is a hot one, okay, let's look at this. Let's be all out. Let's go on the appointment. Let's make the offer. Let's get the deal. And the offer process, then we have the closing process for actually closing it. Because we're making offers. People are like, let me think about it. And then as investors, we're like, oh, shoot, like, now what do I do? So we have a whole closing process for what we do at that point, whether you're on the phone or you're at the property, creating a scenario for the seller that makes them more likely to do business with you and see more value in doing business with you now. That closing process, and then obviously at that point I've got a contract. We've got a process for how we get it sold to our cash buyers as well. Kind of what we were talking about earlier.
Well, that's awesome, man. I don't want you to give away everything that you know. I mean, you're giving away a lot, because I think what happens is people get so much information, they don't know what to do with it. So it's good that you're giving them something and saying, hey, listen, take this, go build your buyers list. This is what we love to do, cold calling. And I mean, heck, you're going to be in Charlotte, North Carolina in October at the Wholesaling Elite Live event. And but even better, you're holding a webinar this Thursday. So this is going to come out this week and this Thursday. So this Thursday is going to be, let's see, the Thursday, July, what is that, the 12th?
That's it, July 12th.
So July 12th, and I'm going to put this out, and everybody's going to see it. So if you're listening to this, kind of tell them what the webinar is going to be about, so that they know. I've went through the webinar. I use Josh's system when it comes to getting leads. It is the cheapest lead source I have. You guys might have heard me talk about this lead source months ago, and I mean like 5-6 months ago. And Josh has really quiet down, and then he's like made it better, and he's brought it out, and now it's really not something for a complete newbie, but you need to get with Josh anyways to make sure that you're at that point you need to be, because I'm telling you, if you invest in this software, it's going to be the thing. So tell them about what's going to happen on Thursday when you're doing, when is the event, what's it going to be about?
Cool. Yeah. So really excited this Thursday night. And we weren't going to do another masterclass for the cold calling on steroids, but what happens is we're literally getting over 20 people a day DMing us, emailing us, whatever, going to different websites and being like, hey, we need info, open the masterclass back up. And so we've had so much demand for it. And here's the thing, it takes my time. I personally spend time with each student that goes into the course. Mm-hmm. But on Thursday, what I do is I do a free live training. It goes about an hour long, and it helps people understand the fundamentals of cold calling and understanding the principles that will allow you to be able to get leads every single day so that you can have a business and always be working actual people that want to sell their house and getting predictable deals and not going out of business to do it. Like with Google and direct mail, a lot of times people can't afford they go like, I'm going to do a campaign, and if I don't get a deal, I'm screwed because now I don't have any money left.
If you do that in your market, you're in the toughest market, one of the toughest markets in the country. If you do that in your market, PPC, you'll be out of business before you know it.
Right. That's just it. So on Thursday, we'll have a live training, and I'll go over basically kind of pull back the curtain and show what we do to get these, like I said, 5 on a slow month up to 12 on a busy month. And mind you, too, if I had 5 guys on the phones, I could do 15 to 25 deals, right? Like there's plenty of cash deals even in Phoenix right now to get. It becomes on the leads coming through, how well can I qualify these leads, right? Because if I have all these leads, I'm not qualifying them well, then I'm not converting anything. Probably a better term, how well can I convert these leads?
Correct.
Right? If you've got leads coming in, you can't convert them. That doesn't do you any good anyways. You're just going to be frustrated. So that's what I was talking about training the salespeople slow. The system will allow me to always solve the problem of needing more leads. So if I want to grow, I can grow incrementally and just send out more calls. And like I said, we don't have to have a huge call center. And so we'll that's what we'll go over on Thursday. But I know, Max, you've got the link. You'll be able to drop that in for the live training. But I would encourage anybody, if you're actively wholesaling, you can't afford to miss the training on Thursday. And you definitely want to jump into the private masterclass as well. This is, you said it yourself, Max, it's a game changer to bring in leads and affordable leads and awesome leads. And then knowing how to do it, where to go, the system, having the software to do everything is incredible. I mean, it's just a fantastic system.
It's one of the tools I use in my business that got me to 100,000 a month.
Yeah. So I had a third quarter last year, and we've had lots of great quarters with cold calling on steroids. Every quarter is great because we're constantly doing deals every single month with the system. Mm-hmm. But third quarter of last year, we did $176,000 in that quarter off of $2,000. It was $2,200 in spend. Now there was a little bit more money into the list, but I already had a lot of this list. Isn't that crazy? And we'll hit, all these months I'm talking about, $50,000 to $150,000 in higher months. We're doing off of $2,000 to $3,000 of what we're actually spending. Think about it like this way: if you were doing direct mail, what you're spending to get your however many leads you're getting or deals, what we're spending to get the volume and the profit I'm talking about right now is $2,000 to $3,000. Now there's some list costs and some costs from time to time in the business. But even if you want to add like all of that, I mean, it's insane. Like our lead cost is, we'll have campaigns where our lead cost is as low as $5.
I know, trust me, I know. I have lead costs where my it's less than $5.
And people that are out there that are doing $100,000, $200,000 that are heavy on direct mail, they're spending $50,000 to $70,000 in direct mail to get there. And I know because when I was doing 200 and hit that $300,000 month, I was spending $40,000 and $50,000 in Google and in direct mail. But even then, I was only spending an extra maybe 2 to 5, which is still am in the cold calling on steroids. So even then, and that's why I ended up going so heavy. And now almost everything we do is from here because I'm like, look, I'm gonna have to spend. I could go get more leads. Like if I just want to spend $100,000 this month in direct mail, sure, I'm gonna get lots more leads. But I can get the same amount of leads on a few $1,000s in calling. So it's just like a no-brainer.
It only makes sense.
Yeah, to get to both, I'd need 10 acquisitions, guys. So at this point, like I'll do some direct mail here and there to keep tabs on it, but the freaking ROI, like we'll have campaigns, Max, where, and with students are the same way. We've got students making in the hundreds of thousands of dollars, I mean, just like yourself, monthly on the system. I've got a guy, Matt, in Philadelphia. He just started wholesaling less than 6 months ago, and he's having $100,000 months in this business. Like it's crazy. He went through steroids.
Crazy. So I'm going to say this one last time. If you're not this Thursday, July 12th, if you're not inside of his free webinar where he's going to explain some stuff, pull back the curtains, and then introduce you to cold calling on steroids. And if you want to go forward with it, if you're not there just for that 1 hour or however long this thing is, you're crazy because you have to invest that time and be able to speak, because to be able to sit down with somebody like Josh on a one-on-one setting with 20 other people is going to cost you $5,000-$6,000. So that's why you have to go see this one at least for free. I'm going to leave the link below. Josh, tell people where they can find you at. I'm glad to see you more active on Instagram. I love it. I know you got YouTube now. Tell everybody where they can find you.
Awesome. All right, cool, guys. So and one last thing about cold calling, if you don't mind too. If you're watching, guys, and you're trying to get your first deal, I know Max talks about your one deal away, and I mean, that statement is so true. Like, that is everything, because you really are. So you look at something like cold calling on steroids or marketing in general, and if you don't have money to do marketing, you're one deal away. So go post in the groups and on Facebook, and go to Craigslist and do Bandit signs, whatever you have to do to get one deal, and now you can invest in your marketing. And so we have in cold calling on steroids, if you've done maybe a deal or two, or you haven't done a deal, but you can afford to do some marketing as long as you know the best practices and have somebody holding you by the hand. We do have through the course where if you are newer and or don't have a huge marketing budget, but you're like, I need this, I'm going right now, we have a course that kind of custom tailored for you to keep your spend on your campaigns low, but we still, like, here's the list you can go to still get your volume and all that kind of stuff. So we do have a course. It's not for everybody. Like Max said, if you're just brand new and you don't really, you haven't done anything, like, you should be on Max's YouTube. You should be like on our Instagrams, like checking all that kind of stuff out. But if you've like committed to the business, like Max is the guy that tells me where to go, and like you're an action taker, then like we're not going to leave you behind in this class either. So with that being said, as far as where to find me, guys, I'll be at Max's event. I can't wait to see you guys all.
Crazy.
That's going to be insane. I am pumped for that. And you can find me on Instagram, guys, highgross14. So that's gross, like gross profit. So HIGHGROSS, highgross14. That was my old college football number. I'm on Instagram. I do stories every single day. I do an IGTV every single day now, and we do YouTubes at least a couple a week, and they're really cool. Gabe does a great job of throwing together some entertaining stuff.
Shout out to Gabe.
Yeah, Gabe, the real Gabe. So you can find me, guys, Joshua Gayman on YouTube, and my last name Gayman, Joshua Gayman.
So we'll leave all of Josh's stuff, how to contact him, in the links below. Look, man, I appreciate you spending your time. I know time is money and everything like that. Thanks for coming out. Thanks for having me out in Arizona a couple weeks ago, and I look forward to having you here in North Carolina in October at the event Wholesaling Elite Live. If you haven't bought your ticket, do so now. There's like a couple dozen left. We're like 90-something% sold out. So wholesalingelitelive.com. Make sure you go to the event this Thursday online, the webinar that Josh is putting on. I'm going to leave that link below also. And Josh, look, I can't say any more, man. I thank you so much for everything, and any departing words to the audience.
Well, Gabe just grabbed me real quick, and he's like, "Hey, Josh, you didn't put the link into the live training on Thursday." So he just reminded me of that. So guys, it's coldcallingonsteroids.com/Max, and Gabe's gonna put that right there.
Boom.
Or Max will put that right there here in the video if you're watching. So no, that's it, man. It's been so Max, I'm truly honored. I mean, I love, dude, you're a guru, and I love how like you're all about telling people what to do and where to go and doing it. Like there's just so many people teaching real estate that aren't actively doing it. It drives me crazy. So man, that's why I always love
appreciate it, man. So Josh is a guru. I'm a guru. We're doing a real estate conference full of gurus. I'll see you guys in October, March. Listen, I'll see you. I'm going to be on your webinar too. I'm going to check it out again. Why not, right? So I'll see you on Thursday on the webinar, and I appreciate everybody listening. If you have listened this far to this podcast, please give me a thumbs up. If you're on YouTube or any other place, give me a 5-star rating on iTunes. I appreciate you guys, and I'll see you on the next vlog. Peace out.
Thank you for listening to the Wholesaling Houses Elite podcast with Maxwell. Make sure to tune in next week to see what elite wholesaler will have in the hot seat.